Hey guys, Alex with Infotainment here. Today I'm going to be walking you through the 4 different radio options that you can put in this Jeep Wrangler. Some have nav, some have satellite radio, some even actually have CarPlay. And we're actually working on a 5th radio to go in this, so stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm going to be walking you guys through the differences in the 4 radio options that are available. So these 2 are what we call UAA. The difference in the 2 UAAs is this one does not have factory satellite radio. This one does. That's going to be the only 2 differences. No CarPlay. They both do have Bluetooth, standard AM, FM, but that's pretty much the limitations of those 2. Moving down to the next one is going to be our UAG radio. This is a 7-inch touchscreen. This does not have factory navigation. It does have factory satellite radio and it also does have CarPlay. Our next one is going to be the UAQ, which is an 8.4-inch touchscreen, and this comes standard in most of the upper level Wranglers, including the Rubicon. This does have factory navigation, which is the main difference between these 2, and this one also does have CarPlay. So moving into our UAG package, this comes with the 7-inch touchscreen, which you can get by itself. If you wanted to have the automatic temperature control module, this comes with the volume knob and the tune knob, as well as the automatic temperature control. To get the automatic temperature control to work, you need the cabin sensor, and then you also need a sun sensor. That's all included in the auto temperature control kit. So after all this is installed, we go ahead and give you the OBD Genie, which flashes everything to the computer to make sure your car knows that all of this is installed. This is included with the gateway. So along with our UAG upgrade, we also have the UAQ, which is the 8.4 factory nav, CarPlay compatible. All the components that we just talked about with the UAG kit will come with the UAQ kit with the automatic temperature control. Here I'm going to show you how to take out the factory radio. So this is the most base model here, no satellite radio in this one. So this basically just has a compass. This does not mean navigation, so don't mistake that. We have regular radio, we have our media, so for our phone here, it has to be plugged in. It does have Bluetooth for calling, it also has Bluetooth for audio as well. So I'm going to show you how to take this out now. So to start, it's actually pretty simple. This whole piece here comes out as one. So I'm going to take my trim tool, stick it in the side here just to get this started. There's 2 clips, one on that side, one on this side right here. So once we've folded this forward, there's 2 plugs that would need to be removed. This is our start stop button right here. Just press down on this tab. Go ahead and remove that. Pulls out, so go ahead and set this aside. Once we've gotten that out, we need to pull this trim piece off, which is held on by 2 Phillips head screws right here. Go ahead and pull this straight out here. There's just 4 clips and then 2 on the top, just like that. Set that aside, and now there's 4 Phillips head screws. Go ahead and remove those as well. Radio is loose at this point, so go ahead and roll it forward. And there should be 4 connectors on here. There's 1 white connector. There's 1 USB plug in the back. That'll pull out. This guy right there. This one is a special connector that you press down on this tab here and actually fold out, and that's free. So now I'll show you how to install the UAA with satellite radio. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to install the antenna first. So after we've removed the radio, we need to go ahead and install our satellite radio antenna. There's a factory hole for it. I'm gonna show you guys how to install that now. So we've already had the top removed off of this, so go ahead and remove the top to your Jeep, and that can be found in the owner's manual. So what we're looking for is on the passenger side, right this hole right here, and this will fit directly in here. So I'm going to show you guys how to remove all the trim, and we do have to run a wire from here all the way down our B-pillar to the dash. So to get started with our antenna install, we're going to need to remove some pieces of trim. So this main piece of trim here comes off, and there's 3 T25 screws that hold this in. There's 1 here, there's 1 in the middle, and there's 1 over the driver's side head here. This can be a little tricky to get off just because of the shape of it, so go ahead and kind of pry it forward a little bit and it'll start to drop. It's just push clips. They are a little bit cumbersome to get out, so give it some force. There's a couple in the back here. So once we've dropped this panel here, we want to just go ahead and pull the light out. So there's a little white tab here. Go ahead and pull that straight out. Press down. That'll slide out. Go ahead and set this panel aside. We're going to work on removing some of these other panels here. It's all going to be Torx 25 screws, and basically we're just trying to gain access to the bottom of this hole so we can run the wire for this straight down here all the way down to the dash. So at the passenger side, we're going to go ahead and do here, and there's two more that are up top here. Once we've pulled this off here, there's one more little clip. It's a plastic clip. This whole piece will slide out. Go ahead and set that aside. And then we're going to be taking off the A pillar right here. We're also going to be taking off this piece right along here. This part right here, there's one more clip at the door jamb right here. Actually just pulls straight down. We can go ahead and leave that hanging for now. And we're going to be routing our wire for this all along here and straight over to the A pillar. So the antenna comes off in two pieces here. One is a little clip, and this will install straight down like this. And then we'll go to the underside and screw this in to where we just took it off. So to gain access to the bottom of the antenna, we're going to need to just sag this side down here. So there's three 10mm bolts, these off here. And this actually holds the whole speaker up, so it can get a little heavy here. So once those three bolts are undone, just go ahead and give this a tug. And that should give us access to this 10mm here. That's the bottom of the antenna. So after we've locked down our satellite radio antenna, we're going to go ahead and run the wire loom. So take this side here, plug it right in there, and then basically we're just going to zip tie along here. We're going to run it behind our trim panel, and then we're going to send it down here, and I'll show you how to take this off next. Just make sure this is nice and tight along the frame here. And we can actually use this clip right here, and one more zip tie. And this will kind of just hang free until we get our trim piece back on. That's what's going to hold this up against the frame. So that should just be like this here. And then I'll show you how to take this off. So to take this off, there's two plastic covers. I'm just going to use a screwdriver, take the plastic covers off here. There's one there and they stay attached, so you don't have to worry about losing those. And then there are two 10mm bolts that hold the handle and this A pillar on. Once we get that through, we're going to send this down around here and up to the radio. So before we go ahead and rip this off, we're going to just pry up on our speaker grill here. Go ahead and set that aside and give this a pull. And then we can zip tie the rest of our wire down here. And then we'll actually send this down through into the glove box area. So now we're going to take our end here. We're just going to fish it down here. We can remove the glove box by pushing this forward towards us. Set that aside. And then just go ahead and pull down on the glove box. And you should have plenty of access to grab this with your fingers down here. So once we get down to this corner here, just pull this out with your finger. You can tuck it back in here. Take this end, and there's a small little access spot right there. And you should be able to reach up with your hands. And you'll start to feel it come in back here. If you need to take a little snake tool, you can do that, but you definitely can feel it with your fingers. And we're going to go ahead and pull the whole wire through. So now this is just like this. And there's a wire harness here up under the dash that you can just run along and zip tie it to. And then we'll bring it up to the radio. So once we've run this down, before we send it back to the radio, we're just going to go ahead and put our trim pieces back on. So this one slides like this. There's a couple little pins. These line up with these holes right here. That just snaps right back into place. Back in here. So that snaps in. And then we'll take our two 10mm bolts and our ratchet tool. put these back in here. We're done at the A-pillar, so you can clip these back on here. We'll go ahead and put this piece back on first, and then this piece back on last here. So we'll come back to the roll bar here and just go ahead and push this up. So it's secured, and we'll replace the 3 10mm bolts that was holding this up. So once we come back here, just be mindful of this wire here that's kind of hanging loose. So we'll go ahead, insert this end first, pull that back down. And we'll go ahead and replace our 4 screws here. This one can be a little tricky to line up, so just make sure all your holes are lined up before you start. And then we have 3 more screws to replace, 1, 2, and 3. And then we're all set up top here. Now we'll move back to the dash for the connection of the satellite radio antenna. So once we've got the antenna wire passed through the A-pillar, we're gonna route it up underneath the dash, and we're gonna come straight through here. Grab this with our fingers here and pull this all the way through. Just be careful around here. There's some sharp metal, so don't cut yourself, don't cut a wire. And the rest of this wire we're gonna coil up behind here, and then just make sure you fasten via zip tie to one of these wires in the back of the dash here. We now have our satellite radio port right here, and that's where you'll plug in the new wire that you just ran. This is the old radio here, and it does not have a satellite radio antenna. So this is gonna be your USB right up here. This is for AM, FM, and then just go ahead and put all the colors to where they're supposed to be. A little extra, so we're gonna coil this up, zip tie it, and then just set the rest just back in here. So now we have the 5 wires that we're gonna plug in. We'll take our new radio here. I usually plug the bottom in first here. I know how to do it. This big one here, you can see how it folds in. It actually pulls it in there. So once everything's securely fastened, we're gonna go ahead and put this back in here, replace the 4 screws. So after the 4 screws are in place, we'll go ahead and replace our bevel. And there's 2 screws in the bottom right here. Go ahead and replace those. Take our climate control here. Replace these 2 connectors. Make sure they're firmly seated in there. This lines up with this hole right here, so just make sure that this feeds back in. Go in there, and this will all snap in like that. And we've completed the hard part of our installation. After we've got everything in place, we're now complete with the installation. I'll go ahead and turn it on and show you the features. Right now we're indoors, so it's acquiring the signal, but it'll actually have your radio code here, and you can call into Sirius XM to activate your Sirius. So now I'm actually going to show you guys how to move into the UAG model, and that actually has the automatic air conditioning control here, and there's a couple other small pieces to it. I'll show you how to do that now. All right guys, so moving into the car, we're going to go ahead and start removing our UAA. Keep in mind that this one actually does have satellite radio, so we already routed the satellite radio antenna and the cable, so I'm going to be showing you guys how to plug that into the UAG. So we'll go ahead and take our trim tool, insert in the corner. This will pop out. This side will pop out as well. And with the UAG, we're going to be replacing this as well. Like I said before, you can use your steering wheel remote controls if you don't want to upgrade the HVAC controls here, but we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to show you how to add the auto AC as well as the 2 other components that you'll need for that. Go ahead and take this out. There's 2 clips on the back here. 1, 2. We'll set that aside for now. Take our Phillips head screwdriver here and we'll grab these 2 screws on the bottom to take the trim out. This is held in by a couple of clips on the bottom, a couple of clips on the top. Then there's 4 screws here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now that the radio is loose, we can go ahead and fold it forward. And since we have the satellite radio, we're going to go ahead and unplug 5 connectors. And 4. So now we're going to take our 7-inch UAG radio, we'll flip it over, so I'll show you the connections here. And again, you have the 5 same connections that just came off of the UAA. One slides in like this, and this tab, just go ahead and push down. You'll see it suck down in there. Just make sure it's secure. Just like so, and replace our 4 Phillips head screws on either corner. At this point, I'm going to show you guys how to take the original volume and HVAC control out and put the new automatic temperature control in. So we're going to go ahead and remove our original HVAC control here, and we're going to be replacing it with the automatic temperature control. So this whole module here, it has everything that's on the original one, but it has the automatic temperature control as well as your volume knob and your tune knob for the new radio. I'll also, once we get back into the vehicle, I'm going to show you how to install your sun sensor as well as your automatic temperature control sensor. So we'll start by flipping this over. And this is a 7/32 bit here. And we're going to go ahead and just remove all these. And at that point, this is loose. Go ahead and set that aside. Take this and flip it over. And this fits just where the other one came out. Make sure you don't over tighten these here because they will snap. We don't want that to happen. So now this is installed in the original trim, and I'll show you guys how to put it back in. So our next step is going to be replacing the sun sensor. Basically what this does is when the sun is glaring down on you, it's going to actually help you with the temperature fan control. So to do this, we're going to take our trim tool, get under and just pry this up a bit. So once we get it up like this, you want to reach under here and grab and that'll actually pop that out, and that's what we're trying to get out ideally. So this will come out, press this little tab right here, set that aside, and the new one plugs directly in here, and it'll clip right in, and then press everything down, and that's installed. So we'll move on to the automatic temperature control that's under the knee bolster on the driver's side. So the automatic temperature control on the inside, the sensor for it is right here. The Sport model and anything that does not come with the automatic temperature control does not have this sensor behind this grill right here. It is pre-wired, everything is pre-wired, so we're going to go ahead and install this now. So to take this bolster off, you just reach here, give it a good pull, and there's 2 more clips at the top, and that just pulls straight out. So in the kit there are 2 small Phillips head screws included in the kit, and the temperature control should actually just be hanging right here. So once the knee bolster's out, this is the plug that we're going to here, and this is already pre-wired, so we'll go ahead and clip this sensor in right here. And there's 2 holes for screws here, one's at the top and one's right at the bottom here. Recommend doing the top one first. Now that that's installed, we'll go ahead and put our knee bolster back on. Then do the top clips first here. Now we're ready to put our trim back in with the temperature control. So after we set all the sensors up, we're going to go ahead and replace our trim here. So the 2 top clips clip in first, and the bottom clips. And then there's 2 Phillips head screws. We'll go ahead and replace those now. So after the trim is back on, we'll take our temperature control, plug this back in here, And then the start stop button here. And everything folds back in here. We're gonna take our wire and feed it in there. And everything snaps together here. So the hardware portion of this is now complete. We're gonna show you how to flash the car with the Genie. So before we flash with the OBD Genie, we're gonna show you how to install the security gateway. Basically, this just allows the car to know that we are making some changes before we flash it with the Genie. So these two plugs are straight up in here, and we'll give you a close-up shot of that next. So looking up from the OBD port is right here. And then the security gateway that we're gonna be unplugging is right here. So we're gonna unplug these two, plug it into the new security gateway, and then we'll flash it with the Genie.
And what you can basically do is tear away the little security sticker here. Now we're ready to plug this in. We have to turn our vehicle into the run position and plug it in, and we'll wait to see the green light show up. All right, we'll go ahead and unplug our Genie.
All right, so here we are back at the radio. You can see it's working pretty well. The new climate control is here. So we have automatic temperature control here, which will variate the fan when you're driving. I'm going to turn that off so everything works here. Now we have our volume knobs for this. Again, if you decide not to go with the automatic temperature control, your steering wheel controls will control just the screen. However, you won't have a volume knob, which personally I like. So I'll get into the features of this a little bit. So this is now a 7-inch full touch screen here. You have all your apps. You can see, check your backup cam, all sorts of different stuff here. And this one does not have factory navigation. It does have a little compass there. We're inside, so it's not going to show. This also does have Apple CarPlay, which is a huge upgrade from what we had. You can do navigation through the phone on this one. You can see all your apps here. You got Spotify, you got your Zoom, you got Waze, MLB. Navigate through this a little bit. Here's your other dashboard here, but as you can see, it's very quick, very responsive. So yeah, that's a brief overview of this new Uconnect UAG. So in the next section, I'm going to show you guys how to go from UAG to the UAQ radio, which that gives us an 8.4 screen and factory navigation, as well as a larger screen Apple CarPlay. We'll go ahead and take this trim piece off again here. Just be mindful that the radio is loose. We don't want that falling and tearing any wires. Go ahead and fold this down here. Again, we have these 4 connections here. 1, 2, press this guy in here, fold it out. 3, 4, and 5. All right, so after we get done removing the 7-inch screen, we're gonna go ahead and put our 8.4-inch screen. The connectors are a little bit different. You're not gonna be using these 2 here. These 3, 1, 2, and 3 will get reused. We'll go ahead and start at the bottom here. Got a big plug here, press that down. Just make sure it's nice and secure. Take our USB, plug that in. Just like that, we're ready to fold this back in. Press this into place here. Now we'll take our big trim piece here, pop it in the top, clip there, and we have the 2 Phillips head screws on the bottom here. Again, this radio will work without the automatic temperature control knobs. However, you won't have knobs, but it will work with the steering wheel remote controls. Start stop button back in. The HVAC controls back in here. Feed that wire in there. And now this unit is ready to be flashed by the OBD Genie. All right guys, so we're gonna check out the navigation on this. Again, this one does have navigation, the 7-inch does not, and the 2 small ones do not as well. So like we can just do a quick where to, type in all the address So we can just go ahead and, say type in an address, spell the city, spell the street. Back out of here, we can just view a map. Takes us to where we're at now. All right guys, so we are wrapped up with our UAQ install. This video should give you a great overview of all 4 radios that are available for this Jeep Wrangler. Again, this is a sport model, so it came with the bare bones, no satellite radio, no nav, no nothing. We've upgraded this all the way up to an 8.4-inch screen with factory navigation and CarPlay. Check us out on Infotainment.com, where we have a bunch of different accessories for not only this Jeep Wrangler, but a bunch of different vehicles as well. Thanks so much for watching.